So hello and welcome everybody. I again welcome you all in this class. So here we will discuss lecture number 4th, and let's move on to the next slide and let's discuss the concepts of this chapter. So basically guys, here we will study about the refraction of light through a prism. So we know refraction. What is refraction? We have seen this refraction in light chapter. So what happens whenever a light enters from a medium into another medium, so it bends, and this bending is known as refraction. Okay, let's suppose this is your light coming like this, and this is your surface, and after the refraction the light changes its path. Okay, so this deviation or this bending is called refraction. Okay, now we don't need to go in detail that when the light will bend away from the normal and when the light will close to the normal, okay, or will be bending close to the normal. So we don't need to discuss here because we had already discussed it in the previous lectures. So guys, here we will study the refraction of light through a prism. So to understand this refraction through a prism, we need to see the diagram of a prism. So here guys, I am drawing a diagram. So basically this is the diagram of a prism. Okay, and here it can be clearly seen that this prism has two triangular surfaces. This is triangular surface number first and this is triangular surface number second, and it has three rectangular lateral surfaces. You can see this is a rectangular surface. Let me show you by another pen, and this is another rectangular surface and this is another rectangular surface. So it has three rectangular surfaces. I hope guys this point is clear to you. Now you are able to see a diagram here. So this is basically a 2D diagram where we have only shown this surface first, this triangular surface of this prism. Okay, so when you see this diagram, so you should not understand that the prism is a 2D structure. No, it is a 3D structure, but we just show this triangular surface of this 3D prism. Okay, now guys, for parallel refracting surfaces, as in a glass slab, we saw the glass slab, okay, in light chapter. So we had observed at that time that emergent ray is parallel to the incident ray. So let's move on to the next slide and let's see how the refraction takes place in a glass slab. Okay, so let's suppose this is your incident ray. Okay, and after the refraction we know that whenever light enters from a rarer medium to the denser medium, so this is our denser medium and this is our rarer medium. Okay, this is denser and this is denser and this is rarer. Now guys, what happens that when this ray enters in this denser medium, then it bends towards the normal, because this is our normal. Let me draw the normal. This is your normal, okay, and this is your ray. So this ray will bend towards the normal. Now what happens, this ray will keep moving like this. Okay, now this is the denser medium and this is rarer medium. Now guys, what will happen? This ray is going from denser to rarer medium. That's why it bends away from the normal. Like this. It bends away from the normal. Let me draw it more clearly for you. Okay. So this will bend like this, away from the normal. This is your normal. Now guys, you will see that these two lines are parallel to each other. These two lines are parallel to each other. However, there will be a shift. We will call this shift D. However, there is a shift you can see. Okay. So this shift is known, or this shift is given by D. So guys, this is the refraction through a glass slab. But we are interested to know that what happens whenever a light refracts from the prism. So let's again go to the previous slide and let's talk about what happens in the case of prism. So basically guys, you can see that there are two triangular surfaces and three rectangular surfaces of this prism, and we are only considering this surface number first of the prism. And now let's see what happens when light refracts from this surface. Okay, so this angle of these inclined surfaces is known as the angle of prism, or you can say prism angle, or it is also called angle of prism. Okay, and these surfaces are basically inclined to each other. You can see these are inclined to each other. This surface is inclined to this surface. Okay, this surface is inclined to this surface. So I hope you might have been able to understand this thing. Now guys, let's talk about what happens whenever a light refracts from this prism. So let's suppose this is an incident ray, and after the refraction this ray will be bending like this. This ray will be bending like this, or you can say this is bending close to the normal. Okay, so I hope this thing is clear to you. Now what happens, this is the ray which is moving inside the prism. Okay, so this is a denser medium, and now it is going out in the air. So this is a rarer medium. This is what? Rarer medium. Okay, and whenever light enters from a denser to a rarer medium, then it basically bends away from the normal. So it will bend away from the normal. Now you can see that it is bending towards the base of this prism. It is bending towards the base of the prism like this. And this ray is called emergent ray. This ray is what? Emergent ray. This is incident ray and this is emergent ray. Okay, which is emerging out. And this is the normal. You can see this M and M dash is the normal of this surface, and here the ray is bending away from the normal. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Okay, now let's talk about the other thing. So you can see that the peculiar shape of the prism makes the emergent ray bend at an angle to the direction of the incident ray. So you can see that this is an incident ray, and this incident ray and this emergent ray are making an angle. This is the angle which is made by this incident ray and this emergent ray. Okay, if you move this incident ray like this, and if you move this emergent ray back, then you will see that this is the angle made by these two rays, and this is the angle of deviation. This is the angle of deviation. Let me write it here. Angle of deviation. Now, why I am calling it the angle of deviation? Because you can see that this angle shows us that how many angles this incident ray deviates from this emergent ray, or you can say that this emergent ray and this incident ray makes an angle D, and this angle shows us that how much emergent ray deviates from the incident ray. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. So this angle, angle of deviation is denoted by this D. This is angle of deviation. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. So let me again draw some other angles. This is angle of deviation, and this angle is known as the angle of incidence. Okay, this I is the angle of incidence. And what is the angle of incidence? We know in the light chapter that the angle made by the normal and the incident ray is known as the angle of incidence. So this is the normal. What is the normal? Normal is a line which makes the angle of 90 degree from the surface. So this is making the angle of 90 degree from the surface. So that's why this is normal, and this is the incident ray, and this angle between these two lines is I, which we call angle of incidence. Now guys, let's talk about the angle of emergence. So this angle made by the second normal, the normal of this surface, and this emergent ray is known as the angle of emergent. Let me write it here for you. Angle of emergent. Okay, I hope guys these things are clear to you. So let me again erase all these things, and let's make this notation more explicit for you so that you can easily understand the angles. Okay guys, so I have just erased all these things. Now let's first note the angle of deviation. So this is angle of deviation. Let me write it here. Angle of deviation. Okay, now this angle is known as angle of emergence. Angle of emergence, because this is the angle made by this normal and this emergent ray. That's why it is known as angle of emergence. Now this is the angle of incidence. This I is angle of incidence. Angle of incidence. Why this is angle of incidence? Because it is the angle made between the normal and the incident ray. Okay, now tell me the name of this angle. So this angle is the angle of prism. This angle is what? Angle of prism. Okay, the angle between these two inclined surfaces. I hope guys these angles are clear to you. Okay, one angle is remaining yet. So this is angle of refraction, this is angle of incidence, and this is angle of refraction. Angle of refraction. So basically here two angles are important. First is angle of prism and the second is angle of deviation. So this angle shows that how much a ray deviates from its original path, or you can say the angle between the emergent ray and the incident ray is known as the angle of deviation. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Now let's move ahead to the next slide, and let's talk about what is there for us. Okay guys, so here we will see the dispersion of light by a glass prism. Okay, so basically what happens, you might have seen rainbows. Okay, you might have seen rainbows of 7 colors. Okay, and it is a very amazing combination. So do you know why these rainbows are formed? So to find out the answer of this question, we should again study this prism. Okay, so this prism shows an exciting phenomena, and this phenomena is to be studied here on this slide. So basically guys, what happened, this prism split the white light into the band of colors. You can see in this picture a white light is coming, and it is incidizing on the surface of the prism, and after this refraction the light is splitting into the 7 colors. Okay, and this color sequence can be remembered by this short trick, Vibgyor. I am writing it here for you, Vibgyor. Okay, so let's talk about V basically comes for the violet. Okay, for the violet, and this I is for indigo, and this B is for blue. Okay, and this is for green, this is for yellow. Okay, this is for orange, and this is for red. So this is the sequence which we get when a light diffracts from a prism. So guys, you have to keep this in your mind. You have to keep the sequence that violet shows the most deflection and the red shows very less deviation. Okay, we will talk later then why this happens, but for now on you have to remember the sequence that this violet shows the most deflection or deviation, and this red shows very less deviation. Now guys, the band of the colored components of a light beam is called its spectrum. Okay, this is what this is, spectrum. Here you can see there is different type of lights, violet and indigo and blue and green and yellow and orange and red. Now when these lights combine, then this will result as a white light. So we can also say that a white light is nothing but a combination of 7 colors, combination of 7 colors. Okay, so when these 7 colors combine, this will be appearing as white light. Okay, we also had performed this experiment. Let's suppose this is a disk and there are 7 colors in it. Let's suppose red color, okay, and then blue color, indigo color, white color, yellow color, green color. And when you rotate this faster, then you will see that this will be appearing to be white. Okay, so this also shows that a white light is a combination of 7 colors. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. But we don't see the combination of 7 colors. We are only able to see this when this white light is refracted through this prism. Okay, I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Now we also have seen that white light is dispersed into its 7 colors components by a prism. Okay, so basically guys what happens, the different colors of light bend through different angles with respect to the incident ray as they pass through a prism. So whenever a light enters in this prism, what happens? Different colors deviates at different angle, or you can say different colors refract at different angles. That's why when they come out, then we can see them distinctly. Okay, we can see them separately because they are refracted at different angles with respect to this incident ray. And you also have to remember that this red light shows the very least bending. Let's suppose if this is your, let me draw it with another pen. So if this is, okay, let me again change the pen. Okay, so if this is your incident ray, then you can see that this red is showing very less bending. Okay, and what is the reason behind it? Do you know? Although it is, it is not necessary to understand the reason, but although I am telling you that this R has very high wavelength, it has very high wavelength. Okay, that's why it is showing less bending. Okay, on the other hand, this violet has less wavelength, less wavelength. So that's why it is showing very high bending. Okay, so I hope guys you understand this. So you have to keep this point in your mind that red light bends the least while the violet light bend the most. Okay, I hope guys this thing is clear to you. So this is the reason that the rays of each color emerge along different path and thus become distinct. So all the light rays are, refracting or emerging at different paths because it is deviating or refracting at different angles. That's why we are able to see them separately. So now guys, after understanding this dispersion, okay, this is nothing, the splitting of light into the 7 components, or you can say into the 7 colors, is known as dispersion. It is known as dispersion, and this band is called spectrum. Okay, this band Vibgyor is called its spectrum. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Now let's move on to the next slide and let's talk about the other things. Okay guys, so here we are. Here we will study about the monochromatic light. So what is a monochromatic light? So light consisting of a single color or wavelength is called monochromatic light. For an example, sodium light. So guys, first of all let me give you a basic idea about a wavelength. Okay, so let's suppose this is a wave. Okay, let's suppose this is a wave. Okay, so the distance between this crust of this wave, this is also crust of this wave. So the distance between these crusts is known as its wavelength. Let me write it here for you. Wavelength. Okay guys. So each color has different wavelength. Red has different wavelength, blue has different wavelength, and let me tell you that red has highest wavelength. Highest wavelength. That is the reason that the red color deviates least because it has highest wavelength. Okay, and the violet has lowest wavelength. Okay, I hope guys now the concept of this wavelength is clear to you. Now guys, what is the monochromatic light? Monochromatic light is a light, you can say it is a single color light. It might be red, it might be yellow, okay, it might be blue, but there should only be a single color. There should not be mixing of colors. So that light we will call monochromatic light. And sodium light is an example of monochromatic light. I hope guys this is clear to you what is monochromatic light. Now let's move on to the next slide. Okay guys, so here we are. Here we will discuss the recombination of the spectrum of white light. Let me write it here for you. Recombination of the spectrum of white light. Okay guys, I hope this is clear to you. So basically the Isaac Newton, we all familiar with this name. In physics this name is taken lots of times, very frequently. Okay, so basically this Isaac Newton was the first person to use a glass prism to obtain the spectrum of sunlight. Okay, so what happens, the Isaac Newton was trying to split the colors of the spectrum of white light. So basically we know that whenever we pass a beam of white light through this prism, then it splits into the 7 parts, into the 7 colors. So Isaac Newton was trying to break these colors further. They want to split it in more colors, but they couldn't do it because these are only 7 colors and it cannot be splitted more. So then what did he do? He basically placed a second identical prism in an inverted position. You can see in this picture that he placed a inverted prism. Inverted prism like this. Okay, so what happens when they place this inverted prism? Then what he observed? He observed that the light again recombined and it again converted into the beam of white light. You can see that what did we do? We basically place a prism here and then we focus a beam of light, or we incisize or throw a beam of light on this surface, and now the light splits into the 7 colors. And when we allow these 7 colors passing through the another prism which is placed in inverted position, then this light has recombined and again become white light. So this basically gave the idea to Newton that light has 7 colors, because when it was passing through one prism it was splitting, and when we again pass it in the inverted position of the prism, then it again recombine and gives the white light. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Okay, so after understanding this, let's read this theory. He was the first who obtained spectrum of sunlight by using glass prism. He tried to split the spectrum of white light more by using another similar prism, but he couldn't get any more colors. He repeated the experiment using second prism in inverted position with respect to the first prism, and we know the result of this experiment, that the light is again converted into a single beam or into the single light. Okay, but in the previous experiment we saw that light was splitting into the 7 colors, and when we pass these 7 colors into a inverted position prism, then it is again converted into the single beam of light. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. So now let's move on to the next slide after understanding this. So guys, here we are on the slide. Here we will discuss the examples. So this is a first example. Let's talk about this. why light is split into 7 colors. Okay, so what is the reason why light is splitting into the 7 colors? So we know that each color of light bends at different angles. Okay, what we will say, that each color of light bends at different angles, so that's why this type of dispersion is shown and light splits into the 7 colors. Okay, I hope guys you might have got this point. So what will the answer of this question? You can write that different rays bend at different angles. Or you can say different rays bend through different angles with respect to the incident ray. With respect to the incident ray. Okay, so this is the reason why light splits into 7 colors. Now guys, let's talk about the second question, that which color of light bends least in dispersion by a glass prism. Okay, so let's discuss the second question, that which color of light bends least in dispersion by a glass prism. So when we were discussing the second, when this topic, dispersion of light, then I told you that red light shows least dispersion. Red light shows least dispersion. You can say least bending. Okay, let me erase it and let me make it clear for you. Okay, least bending. And why this red light shows least bending? Because it has higher wavelength. Higher wavelength. That's why it shows least bending. So I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Now let's move on to the next slide, and I hope guys everything is clear to you. Okay, you might have been able to understand whatever have been taught. So now I am ending this lecture. Thank you so much guys. Bye bye.